Hey everybody, welcome back and thanks for joining again. You know, I've been giving it some thought. Us as immigrants, we really, we do a lot of planning to move to another country. And that's one of the reasons I started Soft Landing is I share a lot of how-to guides to try and share my experiences to help as many of you as possible when you move to New Zealand to, make it as easy as possible and to eventually, hopefully make it home. But one of the things I don't think we give enough thought about is what if something goes wrong? And in my life or our situation, last year we actually lost my sister-in-law to cancer. And I can tell you, as hard as it is to deal with the loss of a family member when you've moved to the other side of the world and trying to just get through that emotional roller coaster ride, one of the hardest things was eventually having to deal with all the family back home and deal with all her belongings, her assets. And not only that, we were actually listed as the legal guardians for my nephew. So we had to deal with that as well, living from the other side of the world. And one of the things I was most grateful for, as hard as it was we had a will in place. Because when we had to finally deal with the executors and get to that point of not only dealing with, although her estate was small, divvying that up amongst the family, and I promise you people can get ugly when it gets to that point, but also it gave us guidance on what my sister-in-law's wishes were after she had passed, i.e., one of the most important was making sure we look after my nephew and getting him here to New Zealand. And he arrived here a month ago, so I can tell you it took us a long haul, but it's one of the things that we've finally got right, and we've actually done right by my sister-in-law. But what it reminded me is how important it is to think about when things go wrong and to have that will and testament in place. And I'm grateful we did in her case. So with that, I'm grateful today and really privileged to have both Ivandee Fitchet joining us from Migrant Financial Services, as well as Alistair van Schalkwyk from ASCO Legal. So with that, I'm going to hand over to them to introduce themselves properly, and then we'll actually get into it today. So Ivandee, starting with you.
Thanks, Brett. So Ivandee Fitchet, I own Migrant Financial Services. It's a company designed to give full service financial advice, mainly to immigrants, starting from the very beginning with a budget all the way through to retirement planning, and bridging that gap with your financial journey from home country to your new home.
Thanks, Ivandee. Alistair.
My name's Alistair van Schalkwyk, or if you ask Kiwis, Van Schalkwyk is
that how
the
they
best
say it?
translation.
Jeez.
We could, yeah, I know. So I actually qualified as a solicitor in South Africa at TIX. Practiced in South Africa for a few years before coming over. So I've sort of worked both sides of the ocean, so to speak. I'm now director of ASCO Legal. So we're a full service law firm. And obviously we have a good group of South African clients, and we understand, having gone through immigration myself, what a harrowing process that can be, and also the kind of things people should be putting in place. You think you get here, the job's done, not necessarily. That's a little bit about us.
Thanks, Alistair. Just I can tell you, you think the job is done. I'm only 3 years in, and there's always surprises. There's always something new. I'm constantly learning, so definitely hear you there. I got to ask before we really get into it, Alistair, how long have you been here? Because you haven't 100% got your South African accent anymore.
Well, I'm English-speaking South African. I actually grew up Afrikaans. I was about 6 years old. My parents wanted us to wear shoes when we went to school, so we went to an English school, not an Afrikaans school. That's what they told us anyway. So I am fluent in Afrikaans. Ek kan Afrikaans redelijk goed praat. Ek gebruik dit nie baie nie, maar ek verstaan dit baie goed. But I've certainly lost the accent over the years. We came across in 2009.
Okay. So you've been here a little while. You've probably got your little black book as well. So you're well on your way to becoming a real Kiwi, and the rest of us are just trying to catch up.
Yeah. And it's a journey. It's a journey. I think it's well worthwhile.
That's for sure. No, thanks, Alistair. Well, maybe with that, if we get into it a little bit, I just really want to understand. Do we need a will straight away when you get here? Can I not use the will that I had back in South Africa? Why do I even need a will? I'm really trying to understand this a little bit, and maybe we could get into that. I don't know, maybe one of you could start. Maybe Ivandee, explain why. Why do we even need to consider this?
Yeah, so it's a conversation I have with clients even before they leave. It's one of the things we tick off is to make sure that they have a will in place. In SA, we do discuss if the guardians are potentially going to change by the time they get to New Zealand, or if the guardians are going to stay in South Africa, because that does create an extra layer of complication, I think. The other thing we also do check is if the last will and testament in the home country is with a bank. Fortunately for myself, I updated mine just before I left SA with a solicitor. And when I came to New Zealand and I did mine here, thank goodness the solicitor told me here I'd done the right thing, because it's so difficult for a solicitor here to try and get hold of a bank in South Africa or one of the big institutions. It just makes it so much more difficult from a communications point of view. So we do try and have those conversations before they leave, because once you've left, you can't rewrite it, right, Alistair? You can't redo it.
No.
Your essay will from this side.
It's very
So we
tough.
try and so we try and get that done. It just takes so much pressure off you, because you need one in both countries. Get it updated before you leave.
Okay. Well, look, I think you've touched on something that's important. I know you and I are doing a series together, a whole lot of episodes, and we're trying to talk through that whole journey from when you're in your home country right the way across. So I'm really hearing you where you're saying you start working on getting that your will and testament in place in your home country. So you already start from that stage. But now I'm trying to understand, okay, what happens if I don't have one when I get here to New Zealand? You know, why is it so important? Why should I even consider it? If I don't have kids, I don't have a house, do I really need one?
Yeah. So, Ivandee, I'll probably jump in and take this one. So, if you don't have a will in New Zealand and you pass away, the default rules under the Administration Act applies. So that's because you have then what's called intestate succession. And a lot of people don't realise that. They all think, you know, if I asked you, I said, you know, if you didn't have a will and you died, where do you think your money goes to?
Oh, I have no idea. I was just trying to think, it'd go to my family that's left behind.
Your wife, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I said, the family left
your wife.
Yeah.
The answer is no. Some goes to your wife, but some goes to your children as well. And that creates a lot of complications. Most people's expectations are their surviving partner or spouse would get it all and then, you know, take care of the kids. But it's actually split amongst the surviving spouse and the children, which can create a range of complications. We had someone who had a car accident and passed away, and now the house that they live in is registered in the wife's name and 2 minor children's names. So meaning is if she wants to move the house, she needs to go to the family court, who's the ultimate guardian of the children, and get permission to do that. So there's some real sort of unforeseen consequences with doing it that way. The administration process is also a lot more complex, and that's why we always recommend clients to get a will in place.
Wow. Okay. I must tell you, I was of the assumption if I passed away and I didn't have a will, just going to go to my wife. She'll get everything. I know I've got now 3 kids, but it would be up to her to decide. So that's really an eye-opener for me. Would that mean not only the house, any life insurances, everything gets split, everything, all my assets, everything, Alistair?
So it's everything that falls into your estate, and Ivandee could probably talk a little bit about how the life insurance policies are done, because you don't necessarily own your own policy. So if you don't, that may go straight to your spouse and bypass your estate. And there's also a very unique rule here in New Zealand called by survivorship. So what it means is if you jointly own an asset with your spouse or partner, it bypasses your estate and goes straight to the surviving spouse or partner. So if you have a car registered in both your names or a bank account in joint names, that can bypass it. Where in South Africa, very much the surviving spouse is kind of left high and dry with no money. It's all locked away until the process goes through. And I think the other thing also to consider is if your will in South Africa deals with your worldwide assets, you could find a scenario where your South African will is dealing with your New Zealand assets. Now, having practiced in South Africa and understanding how difficult it is to get anything done and how long the process goes through, it's hard enough when you're there. Imagine trying to do it from here. It's a hell of a process, and it's really tough. And I couldn't believe when I administered my first estate here how easy it was, because you could take the application and you could post it off to the master or the court, and they would review the application and they would just send the probate back. It functions, right?
Yeah,
Like in South Africa, nothing works. And so you sort of, if you don't have a will, you're trading a functioning society's sort of system with what you've just left back there and trying to do it remotely, which will make life all kinds of all kinds of hell.
Yeah, no, I think you've touched on a couple of things. I can tell you just from personal experience in the last year and a half, I did mention my sister-in-law passed away, and it was hard enough trying to deal with the executor from this side of the world, but I was grateful to have him. Obviously, I'm dealing with it the other way around, but I can tell you, just trying to deal with the banks, and they're a private sector in South Africa, trying to deal with closing their accounts and doing all that kind of stuff, it was a nightmare dealing with it from here. Never mind the whole adoption process and dealing with public sector back in South Africa. So I hear you 110%. Things just don't function. It takes forever, and it's very hard to do it from this side of the world. So it really makes sense to me why you would need a will in place. You don't even think about those things. I mean, you touched on another one, Alistair. What if you have, like Ivandee, you mentioned it, you have a property still in South Africa. You also had, when you first moved, you had your car still back in South Africa. So God forbid something had happened, you still got to deal with that as well as whatever you got on this side. So it can be a real nightmare.
Yeah, which is why when I did it in both countries, the solicitor here said to me, thank goodness there's a conveyancer there that he can get in touch with. So they attached a copy of my life cover, and what they'll do is, should something happen to me, he'll contact the attorney in Cape Town, settle net bank, transfer title over to my dad. Like, it's one human that they need to get hold of to do that process.
So to sum it up nicely, if I had to ask the question, what are some of the common mistakes people make with not making a will, or when they move across in relation to a will? What are some of those common mistakes that people make when they're doing that planning? What are the things that they forget about or don't think about?
I think a lot of them do think that the South African one is valid in New Zealand. I haven't seen too many people do it, but you do every now and then get someone that's done an online will.
And why can't you do that?
Which is interesting. Well, with children in New Zealand as an immigrant, I think that's where the biggest problem comes in. Hey, Alistair?
Yeah.
The online one?
An online will, look, if the three of us looked exactly the same and wore exactly the same clothes and all had 2.5 children, and everything was the same, an online will is great for that, right? For the perfect family that is completely normal. Now, none of us are the same, and none of us are normal, so you can't mass produce a cookie cutter that. So I guess the thing is, people go through those processes, and it's IT people that program it, and there are some reasonable questions, but if you don't have the advice, you may not touch on guardianship as an issue. And you won't get that sort of experience and go, okay, actually I should think about this, or I should do it that way. And the questions, example, when we talk about life insurance, it's outside of a will, but we might be saying, okay, but who owns your policies? And a lot of people don't think that through and think of the repercussions. So it's the advice, and it's an online tool that you could use, but I would say at your own peril.
Okay. No, that makes sense, Alistair. Then, as a couple, would you need to do separate wills? Do you do joint wills? How does that work?
That's a good question. So, because I think in South Africa, that's right. I'm thinking back now. You could do joint wills. In New Zealand, you do your own. So each, they can. There is a concept here of what's called a mirror will. So, if it's intended to, one reflect to the other, husband to wife, wife to husband, and then to their children. The difficulty with mirror wills is the idea is you can't change them later on. Which could be problematic. So normally you just do them as ordinarily standalone wills for husbands and wives. Understanding if something, the proverbial bus sort of hits you, Brett, and then 10 years later she finds someone else and they all sort of move on.
Alistair.
Her will's gonna, mate. her will's going to need a change. So she needs the ability to do that. So yes, standalone wills for people.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Now you've got me thinking. So I've just explained the situation we went through with adopting my nephew. So now I'm just trying to think with my kids here now and in the will, with nominating the guardians, what if the guardians are not residents here in New Zealand? Is that a problem? Because I'm telling you, my support structure here, I've got some people, but they're not necessarily residents. They might be on work visas or whatever else. I'm just saying, is there an issue with that, with putting that in your will and who's the guardians?
Have you come across that, Ivandee? An issue like that?
Yes, I have. Yeah. But it becomes an immigration issue as well. So that's where an immigration lawyer or immigration agent would need to step in to do the visa process.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the child. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be really tricky because ultimately the family court here is the guardian of that child or children. In the family court will appoint a barrister who would be looking out to see what's in the best interest of those children.
Okay.
And yeah, an immigration might be required. I mean, I think it'd be hard pressed to convince the court it's a good idea to send children back to South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also just thinking with the, you've explained to me that we have to have a separate will now, and I get why now, because I'm going to get hit by the proverbial bus and my wife needs to be able to carry on, so I get it. But I just wanted to also understand, how often should you review your wills then? Is this something you've got to review regularly or only when something changes in your life, or how does that work?
Yeah, very good question. So there's some fundamental trigger points that you should sort of relook at your will. And when we prepare a will for a client, we hand them a copy of the wills. We retain the originals. But on that copy envelope, we've got pre-printed, saying, I'd say 5 to 8 years is a good rule of thumb, unless sort of one of those scenarios happens. So someone in the immediate family passes away, you have more children, you want to disown one of your children and cut them out the will.
Don't give me any idea.
Whoever's going to be the guardians or appointed guardians no longer suitable or able to. You've got a significant change in assets. You've inherited money and you want it to be dealt with in a certain way. So as an example, often if like the wife inherits a lot of money and it's from her side of the family, she kind of wants to make sure it stays in the family. So she may want a provision that a certain portion of it, instead of going to the surviving spouse, goes straight to the children or something like that. So things like that to trigger the way your wishes, your wishes no longer reflect what you want them. Well, will no longer reflect your wishes.
No, thanks, Alistair. Maybe one other question now. Let's say I've done all this. I'm starting to understand why we're having our separate wills, how often we should be getting it updated. Who keeps the will? Do you keep it? Do you get a copy, the hard copy, and I get to keep it? Or does it get kept with you guys? I'm just trying to understand where does it actually physically sit?
Yeah, so normally we would hold the will in safe custody. While we're in a very digital age now, it's still, we have to submit the original will, and it's a bit of a process if the original will can't be located. And I guess like we're in the business of making sure those are held safe. People, if we gave them the original wills that had best of intentions, that shove it in a drawer or a filing cabinet, they'd move house twice and go, oh, where was that again? What do the movers do with it? The other interesting point is we actually subscribe to an online service that tests our client database against the death notices every day. So even if the family doesn't know where the will is, we will know and be able to reach out as well.
Oh, geez. Okay. I can tell you, I know I've done my will with you guys. I've got my will. Do you think kind of where a copy of it is? I probably don't know.
Precisely why we've got your original tucked away from you.
I'm so glad you've got the original. And I'm so glad you even do the checks, because hopefully my wife would know. We meet with Ivandee regularly. So God forbid something happens, talk to Ivandee. She'll put her in touch with the right people. But yes, it might be in the bedside drawer. I don't know. We've moved maybe in the time that we've been here 4 or 5 times between rentals. So your point is 110% valid, Alistair. So I 100% hear you, which is cool. Okay, so I think I'm getting a real clear idea of why a will is so important. In closing, I want to ask both of you a question. So maybe I'll start with you, Ivandee, and then I'll give you a chance, Alistair. But what is one thing, if there was one thing that you wanted the audience or an immigrant to take away from listening to this interview today, one thing, if they didn't hear anything that we've gone through, what's one thing that you feel is a real important takeaway? You just please at least do that. What is that one thing, Ivandee?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, especially for families that have immigrated with children, that for me, I think that's the biggest thing, is to protect them should something happen to you here and make provision for them. You don't see it too often. I find South Africans in particular really good with this type of thing, but just try and get ahead of it with the planning. Don't just come here and you haven't updated your stuff back home and then try and panic and try and get it sorted between both countries when you're here. You just need to, like what we plan so well for that type of thing in SA, just pre-plan for before you come to New Zealand as well, and do it as soon as possible. You see people leave it, and I've had clients that have passed away before doing any changes here, and it's just caused havoc, and it's unnecessary stress on the family if it's something that you can sort out really quickly when you've landed or just after you've landed.
Thanks, Ivandee. And Alistair, what's one thing, if you had to, just one thing had to land and drop with the audience?
I think it's recognizing you avoid doing your will because it means you're contemplating your death. So psychologically, your brain does try and steer you away from that. So and you go, oh yeah, I'll look at it, I'll get to it. And a lot of people just put it off and put it off and put it off. We had clients who many years ago now, we were chasing them up to sign their wills. It's all drawn up and ready to go. And oh yeah, we'll get to it. And they were on a plane to Hawaii, and the door blew off, and the people in front of them got sucked out, and like literally the bench in front of them, people out the door, and thankfully they survived. And when they landed back in New Zealand, they came straight from the airport to our office to sign their wills. So, if you haven't, even if you've got a will but never signed it, that is difficult, because you then have to prove it and get it sort of proven in front of the court, and then it's up to evidence. It's a very expensive process. So yes, you're going to avoid it mentally, recognize that, and just push through and get it done. Once it's done, you can then sort of rest easy.
No, thanks, Alistair. Look, I don't want anybody to have to get the kick up the butt to go to that extreme. So hopefully, I agree with you. For anybody that's about to travel overseas right now, doesn't happen often. I think plane is one of the safest places to be. So you got more chance of being here.
Just before December holidays.
Hey, that's all the more reason we're telling you, get your will signed and in place.
Get your will done.
You never know, that door could fly off the airplane. So no, 100% get it. No, well, with that, maybe I really want to thank both of you for your time and just sharing a little bit and trying to explain to us why it's so important to get that will and testament in place. And just asking, guys, if this is something you haven't done and it's something that you need to get in place, just go into the description, go to the link, click on the link, and we'll get in contact with you. You leave your details, and we'll get back to you, and we'll help you get this in place. Because I think it's really something that's so important. Not only the example that Alistair's given, where you could get on a plane and the door can get flown off. I can tell you in my life, it's happened to us where it's the last thing we thought would ever happen to my sister-in-law getting cancer. But I promise you, life can change like that, and we were grateful to have it in place. So So thank you to both of you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Cool.